Welcome to a forum on spirituality. I'm your host, Vicki Saputo, and every week I'll be interviewing a pioneer in spirituality, someone who's raised the level of consciousness of our community through their commitment to bringing the role of spirit into their lives and sharing it with us. And this week our guest is Renee Gallegos. Renee Gallegos is an animal communicator who intuitively connects with animals by what she calls heart to heart and mind to mind. And she sends and receives thoughts and images and emotions with the animals. Now, whether they are living or have died, she can connect and communicate with them spirit to spirit. And she coaches people to better understand the relationship with their animals on a deeper level that's beyond earthly. And she says that it's all about love and learning. Welcome, Renee.
Hi, Vicki.
Hi, and I'm just so interested in your topic of being an animal communicator, and I want to know if you've always loved animals.
I've always loved animals, yes.
And when did you first realize that you did?
Well, when I was a little girl, I had a dog and I had a cat, and I was always around animals when we went to the farm. My cousins and my uncle had horses, and I just love them because they're so unconditional. I didn't understand what unconditional was as a child.
They love you no matter what.
Yes.
You leave them all day and they come home and you come home and they kiss you and lick your face.
They do, and they don't care what you look like or what you're wearing. Yes.
Now, didn't you also have a pet care business?
I did. I had a pet care business in Marin County from 1989 to 95.
Wow.
And I sold that in 95. My mother got ill, and then I spent a lot of time with her until she passed away. And now I have a small pet care business. I take care of mostly cats.
So it's kind of like cat sitting or dog sitting?
Yes.
Is that...
When people travel, they leave their animals at home, and I come in and I make those visits.
Did you ever feel that you were attached to the animals?
All the time. All the time, yes.
So how did you first realize that you could connect to the animals intuitively and spiritually? I mean, that seems like a big deal.
I always felt that there was something more. There was just something more. And spending all the time with the animals, I felt that love. I felt the love that I really didn't get from childhood, my parents. And so it kind of goes back to childhood. So I focused on the animals, and then I learned that people were actually communicating with animals, and so I researched it. I started reading books, and I started to take some classes with an animal communicator that was in Grayton at the time. And I learned that it's intuition, we all have it, and it takes practice to keep it strong.
Like to keep in touch with what the intuition is?
Yes, yes, and to trust it. We all have intuition, so it's trusting it.
Like, what's the difference between intuition and guessing at something?
Well, a guess is a guess, and your intuition is, if you're not trusting your intuition, but it still feels like, well, maybe that's it, then guess. Guess. What do you have to lose? Just guess.
So, like, if you were going to connect with an animal, how do you connect and how do you receive the information?
What I do is, when I say mind to mind, heart to heart, I like to, if the animal's not present, I work with a description or a photograph, and I picture the animal in front of me, and when I get that visual, I make a connection heart to heart. And then I ask, is this Miles? Is this Cody? And I wait for an answer to make sure I have the right animal.
One.
Yes, I have lots of stories about connecting with different animals.
Well, now when you mentioned Miles,
yes.
Miles is the black lab.
Yes.
And he was picked up by Animal Rescue. I guess he was wandering the streets at night, and he was adopted by John.
Yes.
And then John would play Frisbee with him every day, and Mandy worked nearby, and she saw them playing Frisbee and got to know them, and she and John got married. And
Yes.
And the three of them are all living happily ever after. But I understand that Miles has a couple of problems. Like he is afraid of the dark and he's afraid of being alone. And I know that you spent just a few minutes with him before our show. So did you connect with Miles, and is there
Yes.
information that you may have gathered that you could share that would be helpful for John and Mandy in helping Miles to overcome some of his fears?
Yes. First of all, meeting John and Mandy, it's interesting. They are open. They're very open. So on some level, they are already communicating with Miles. Meeting Miles, he's absolutely delightful, and he's loyal. It was very clear. Making that connection with him, and what I did is I asked him a little bit about his past. He had sent me some pictures. What I received were like short mini versions of
Wait a
a
minute.
movie.
Who sent you pictures?
Miles did.
Okay, so you seen a visual
He
picture.
showed me a visual from where the place he left before
I
he
see.
went to the rescue. He actually left by choice. He showed me that he was outside. It was always dark. There was a chain link fence, but he was tied up on an old leather leash, and he showed me that he snapped it loose, and he found his way out. What I also picked up from that reading was Miles is highly evolved. He's quite intelligent, and he's very proactive in what he wants in life. So when these animals come into our lives, it's really all on purpose. He actually created his own family, and hence John meeting Mandy. That was all on purpose. There are no mistakes. That was all on purpose, and he's very happy. He's very happy, and he's very loyal. And he also told me he was never going to leave. And he also told me, okay, one more thing, and this was a validation. He was concerned that, well, he wasn't, not that he was concerned. He wanted to make sure that their date, which I'm thinking was tomorrow or maybe the weekend, they were going to go to the beach. And that was validated by John. Yes, we go to the beach every weekend. So that's a validation.
Wow.
I had no idea that that's what they did. So
they know
he was
to
able
not
to
tie him
validate
up.
that.
They know to not tie him up in the dark.
Yes, yes.
And that would probably take care of that. Except for if they've figured it out that he still has these fears, there's something just left over, I guess.
Well, Miles, he's okay. He stays close, and so all of that is trauma, and they're working that out. And he's actually, kind of over the height of the trauma. He's a very happy dog. Very happy dog.
So that's really great. And so how would you define animal communication?
How would I define it? When you make that connection?
Because it's not about meow and woof woof.
No, they're actually, so when an animal is doing something, say it's behavioral, they're telling you something, they're telling their people something. And a lot of times, if the connection is you're not listening and paying attention, they're going to keep doing it. And a lot of people will think, if I call an animal communicator, we can change this. We can make the animal change their behavior.
They have free will, though, I guess.
Free will. They certainly do. So it's not like they're just going to change it. There are possibilities. There's working it out. There's compromising, coaching them.
I remember one story you told me, though, that I think that it would be neat to share it, about the dog that had lost his appetite.
Yes.
And he was chewing on cardboard or something. And how you got those messages to help with that.
That was Haley, a little boxer, puppy. Actually, yes, he lost his appetite, and his people were concerned, and they called on me. I said, you've got to take him to the vet, make sure everything is okay, because I don't diagnose. So when I finally did meet Haley, it was interesting because I hadn't made that actual connection, and Haley made the connection first. She initiated it, and I have to laugh at it because I ignored it. And again, the second time I got a flash of a picture. And so when they left to take her to the vet, this was at the gym, and I was up on the Stairmaster, and I got the flash the third time, and finally I linked it. It was Haley, showed me a picture. So when I went downstairs, they were back from the vet, and I said, hey, does Haley have a white plastic food dish? And the woman looked at me like, how did you know
Would
that?
you ever know that?
Right. I said, well, Haley just told me she would like for you to get rid of it and get her something different. And so they did, and she started to eat again. So It's as simple as that, and I find it fascinating that I didn't even initiate that.
Okay, so you get like a picture in your mind, you visualize
Yes,
it,
it's
or do you ever hear things?
Yes, sometimes it's a picture, sometimes I hear a voice, sometimes I will see words. A lot of times it's movies or feelings.
And you say that people can learn this?
Yes.
It sounds like a gift.
Well, we all have the gift of intuition, and it's choosing to use it and to trust it. Okay, so yes, and I teach people how to do this. So yes, just follow your intuition. It takes practice, a lot of practice to trust your intuition.
Well, not long ago, my horse Cody died. We'll call him Cody 1. But when Cody 1 died, I met you over the telephone, and we talked about it. And there were things that I knew about him. He had been a rescue horse when I bought him, and he was just skin and bones. And I gave him a lot of attention and love and cared for him and fattened him up and everything. And but there were things that I had kind of like figured out from his past, but didn't really know for sure. And then when he died, all I did was tell you what he looked like and what his name was, and you were able to connect with him spiritually.
Yes.
And I thought, gee, it seems like there would be other horses named Cody or other horses that would have that coloring. And it was amazing to me that you were able to connect with him. And, you know, some of the things that you told me I was aware of, but then some of the things you told me were just so reassuring, because you said how he appreciated my gentleness with him and how he appreciated his companion Gazette, which is my other horse, my white Arab.
He actually showed me Gazette.
He did, so you
Yes.
saw him.
Yes. I said, there's a white horse, right? And you said, yes, that's Gazette.
Yeah, so anyway, and then you shared with me something that you said that he communicated to you, that he didn't want me to know how much he suffered at the very end because he didn't want me to feel bad. But I just thought, what a loving, thoughtful thing that he would say that, you know. So it was very heartwarming and really made me feel good. And
Yes.
helped me with closure.
Well, animals, they have the unconditional love mastered. So they don't want to hurt you. It's all about learning, and we're all one, and it's all about trusting your intuition, and they're always going to be there.
And love.
It's all about love, yes.
And then recently I found another horse who just
Yes.
happened to have the same name, Cody. And he's had a few little problems with his bite, and he's got TMJ, and he's been getting headaches and so forth that I've been dealing with. But I told you about him also, and you helped me to work through some of that with him. But I was wondering if you had picked up anything else when you communicated with him that would help me in loving him more or supporting him more in any other areas, because the people that I bought him from didn't really know to tell me very much about his past.
Like about right now, after all the work with the vet and the DDS, the dental work. Oh, yes. So may I suggest continue the gentleness with Cody too. He is having some trust issues right now, okay? And he didn't like this dental work.
I know.
He didn't like the dental work. And it's going to take a little while to recover from it, okay? Because he is 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, for me, that's a young horse because my other one was 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that does help me in reaffirming some of my relationship with him. Now, I know that many dogs and cats and pets, whatever the animals are, many times they do get lost or they're missing, just like with Miles, when we talked about
Right.
Miles. So I guess it wouldn't be too easy to find or to connect with an animal like that? Because it sounds like with Miles anyway, he left because he wanted to leave.
Yes, he did. And in most cases, the animals do leave because they want to find a different home. Animal cases are very emotional, and they take a lot of time. And I've had some success with him. The animals will leave. There have been some that we found, and some find new homes. And some we don't find them. So I don't do them all the time because it takes a lot of energy to do that.
Now, if an animal's missing, I mean, you know, there's a lot of reasons that an animal could be lost, not because they don't like their home, but maybe they tried to follow you to work or whatever it would be.
Sure, different
or the
reasons.
neighbor started feeding them or what have you. Do you like visualize where they are? Is that how?
I ask where they are. I make that connection first, and the first question that I ask them is, are you in body or are you in spirit?
Oh.
And then this way, I know if they've already.
And
if
they
something has
know.
happened. And they know. They don't know immediately until I ask that question, and I've learned through experience to ask that first, and then I continue to ask the other questions on their surroundings and what do they hear, what do they see, which direction do they go.
Another thing I wanted to ask you while we were talking about all this is about instinct versus logic. Because I think we all have instincts. And what can we learn as humans from animals about instinct? Because I know a lot of times with us, the logic creeps in there. You know, trusting our instinct.
Right. The animals are so in tune to they're instinctual. That's how they survive, is with trusting their instinct. So if we can observe them, and if we begin to practice to listen to them, or watch what they're doing or how they react to us, it's learning to trust your own instinct, because we have that within us. It's the intuition, and I mean the key is trusting that. And the animals are here to teach us, and they're here. It's like they have a contract with us. Okay, they have a mission with us.
Well, think about, I guess, like a watchdog, for example. You know, they've got an instinct that somebody's coming that shouldn't be there, or that something's wrong.
And watchdogs are bred to do that, so it's in their DNA.
But they can sense if the person's good or not. I mean, you might go to the door yourself and open the door and think the person was nice and nothing was wrong with them, and maybe once they got in your house, they hold you up or something.
Exactly. It's like when you meet somebody, you get that gut feeling. Animals do that all the time.
And we ignore it.
And we ignore it. If we watch what they do, it's like pay more attention to what they do. Then you learn from them. So yes, we have that, but do we follow it? And it does take practice and trusting oneself, because it's just going within. Go within and listen, just like connecting with an animal, heart to heart. We've been communicating intuitively for thousands of years, and animals do it all the time.
Is there a difference between intuition and instinct?
Instinct is more of a survival, okay, where intuition is, we usually have a feeling
about
sense
it, yeah.
of what, but do we always follow that? No, we don't.
So you were saying about how animals teach us about unconditional love. How do they teach us to love ourselves?
Well, for one example, I'm going to talk about my two cats, and I adore them. I take such good care of them, and I mean, everything I do. And I had this epiphany. If somebody could love me like I love my cats. And I'm like, well, Renee.
The cats love you.
Well, they do love me. You can love yourself like you love your cats, Renee. You don't need anyone on the outside to do that. It's go within. And it's simple. It's so simple like that. And for me, that is a huge lesson for me, is to learn from that. Because we all have different childhoods. And my life today all stems from my childhood. And
well, it does with everybody, I think, huh?
It does. I really pay more attention to that, just so I don't drag it all with me. Every step that I take, I want to leave some of that behind and let it heal. The animals really help me to heal. They've helped me to heal.
I know a little girl that's, well, she's not so little anymore, she's a teenager, but she's always slept with her stuffed animals, and she still sleeps with her stuffed animals. But she just got a cat, and I think a lot of the reason that she got the cat was that so that she could have a pet, you know, to sleep with that was, you know,
that would cuddle with her?
Instead of the stuffed animals, yeah.
Sure.
But being alive and, you know, the whole interaction.
Because they love you so much. They have so much to give. They really, they're not selfish at all. A lot of times someone will say, oh, you know, he's kind of clingy, when actually the person's a little feeling kind of clingy, and the animal's just really trying to reassure their people. You know, we look at it from a different perspective.
Also, what about animals for the sick? You know, sometimes people take animals to patients in the hospital.
Yes, they do.
Especially the elderly, and it brings them comfort and love.
It does. It brings that spiritual awareness up. The animals have a way, by touching them and interacting with them, it heals. It heals. And there's an article written about a cat's purring, how the vibrational level can heal people with cancer.
Oh, how interesting.
Yes. So it's
and dogs, and now they did another study showing that dogs can sense if somebody has cancer, like to diagnose it.
And
I think
also
it was with prostate cancer, I think.
Any kind of cancer, yes, they can sense it. Or if they're going to have like an attack of some sort, a heart attack. I've heard of stories like that where the animals can sense it and they're right there. They're waiting, and they're loyal, and if they need to go get help, they do get help. I mean, there's so many amazing stories about dogs that have done that.
Well, and then it's like seeing eye dogs, and I don't know what you call the other kind of dogs that help people that are disabled and that kind of thing. But how wonderful that we have.
It is
pets
wonderful
that can do these things.
It is wonderful, and I think it's wonderful that people are beginning to realize that.
Well, more people than you must have this ability to communicate with the animals if their animals are able to take care of them and to do all these things.
Well, if we have animals in our life, we're already communicating on some level. Okay, and
we're just maybe not so conscious of it.
Exactly, you're doing it, but you don't know you're doing it.
Well, this has just been wonderful having you here, and it's
you.
exciting to learn about, you know, how to connect with animals intuitively and spiritually and on all these levels. So thank you for joining us, Renee.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for joining us. I hope you'll be inspired to live more fully by learning how others approach spiritual experiences, helping each of us with our own spiritual path. So in the meantime, enjoy and share your spiritual connection to all of creation, and we'll see you next time on a forum on spirituality. Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll be inspired to live more fully by learning how others approach spiritual experiences, helping each of us with our own spiritual path. If you feel a spiritual connection, enjoy and share it with all of creation. And we'll see you next time on a forum on spirituality where the spirit lives on. Please visit me, Vicki Saputo, at drsaputo.com to learn more about integrating body, mind, emotion, and spirit. If you've enjoyed the show and would like to see our archives and learn more about this program, go to aforumonspirituality.com.